Welcome to the MCDFNL Footy Show for another week. Proudly brought to you by Bendigo Bank, of course, as we are every week. Sean Kelly's my name. Joining me this week, a new co-host, Sammy Gowers. We thought, after all the needle that Scotty's got in the last couple of weeks, he's finally said, right, I've had enough, put his foot down, and he joins us this week. He's kicked Sammy out. Scott Carey, Operations Manager of the League. Welcome on board, mate.
Thanks, Sean. Look, I've been a bit disappointed with the flat off cop the last couple of weeks. Bit nervous the first show, but I'm back now. I've consulted a few people. Sam Newman's been in the game for 20 years.
Yes.
Chat to him. Back up and going and ready to go.
So you've taken Kerry Packer's advice. Don't get bitter, get better.
Yeah, absolutely, mate.
Good work, mate. Let's jump straight into it then and talk about last week's results in the MCDFNL. We'll start with the game between Natty Bialaba and Campbell's Creek, which resulted in a good win to Natty. 23-11-149, defeating Creek 14-10-94. Mark Fitzgerald led the way up forward with 9 goals for Natty. Zach Perez, 3. Tom Douglas, Brent Mortlock and Matthew Stagg, 2 goals each. For Campbell's Creek, Burzicott, Adamson, Stone, and it was Josh Adamson 2 and Cody Adamson also kicking 2 goals along with Glenn Wallace. Best for Natty, Fitzgerald, Banco and Long, and for Creek, Adamson, Burzicott and Murray. Good win by Natty Scotty in the end. It was one of those games, they got on top early. It was pretty high scoring first half, 11 goals to 8, but in the end, 6 goals 2 in the third quarter got Natty on the way.
Yeah, you're right there, Sean. It'd be a good win for him after a disappointing loss last week to Talbot, and it's probably not the right thing to do against Campbell's Creek going off their form this year is getting the shootout early. But, you know, credit to them, they've come away with a good win. Creek will be a little disappointed with that loss. Last couple of weeks they've been improving well, and, you know, they'll bounce back, and, yeah, good win for Natty.
Yeah, again, I suppose good signs for Creek. They kicked 14 goals, again, without Joel Smith in the side, who, of course, has been so great up for them. In the 3 games he's played this year, he's kicked 15 goals, but they're still kicking goals without him. They just can't kick those winning scores, unfortunately, at the moment.
Yeah, that's right, mate. They're going to be dangerous this year, and I think everyone's starting to realise that, so it'll be an interesting second half of the year after Interleague.
We speak of winning scores. Carisbrook kicked that and a little bit more on the weekend. One of the biggest scores in the state of Victoria this weekend, 37-23, 245. Defeating the Maryborough Rovers 1 goal 3-9 at Jubilee Oval. Nathan Wright 11 goals for Carisbrook, which temporarily on Saturday night put him on the top of the MCDFNL goal kicking ladder. We'll touch on that more shortly. Thomas Wright 4 goals. Also Ryan Hudson Morgan kicked 4. Cornwell and Robertson and Nick Wright 3, and Kick and Anderson 2 goals each. Just the 1 goal kicker Richard Phillips on the weekend for the Rovers. Best players for Brook, Nathan Wright, Anderson and Cornwell, and for the Rovers Monk, Ritchie and Styles. Big win by Carisbrook. We thought this might have been the case last week. Unfortunately, the Rovers struggling a little bit this year, and I suppose Carisbrook 60 shots at goal in the day is pretty big margin.
Yeah, it's a credit to Carisbrook as well. They could easily just go through the motions with this game, and you know, if you have 60 shots at goal and they had 55 against Avoca a couple of weeks ago, you're gonna have big wins, and that's what they've done. So they keep going on very nicely.
Yeah, they do indeed. Good win by Carisbrook on the weekend. Royal Park taking on Navarre. Big test for Bushy this week up against one of the competition's best teams so far, and it was Navarre. Winning quite easily in the end, 21-10, 136, defeating Royal Park 7-4-46. Chris Brennan 6 goals up forward for the Hoppers. Zane Bigmore 5, 3 each to Tickner and Ben Scott, and 2 to Ash Driscoll and Dan Parkin. 3 goals to Zach Stewart up forward for Royal Park was their only multiple. Best for Navarre, Josh Driscoll, Louis Hannett and Ben Scott, and for Royal Park, Walker, Birch and McLean. Got it all done in the second half, did Navarre in this one, Scotty. In the first half, I actually read during the week that Daniel Parkin very disappointed in his team's first half. He thought that the team came in just expecting to go through the motions and win, and especially in that first half where in Royal Park they didn't give him the respect and Royal Park really came to play on the weekend. He said in the second half they switched on, they got the job done the way they should have. But I suppose full credit to Royal Park in that case for taking it up to Navarre in that first half.
Yeah, absolutely. Pretty close game, and only 20 points in it at half time, so I'm sure Daniel gave his players a bit of a rev up at half time, and they definitely have come out and had a pretty convincing win in the end. Speaking of Greg Stewart, coach of Royal Park, he wasn't overly disappointed with the loss. He thought the guys played very well for that first half, and Navarre's class in the second half just showed.
Yeah, 10-2 with all the good names in that Navarre side. Talbot another strong win on the weekend against a pretty competitive Trentham side in the end. 18-15, 123 to Talbot. 8-7-55 Trentham. 5 goals to Darren Burns for Talbot, 4 to Josh Sullivan, 2 each to Heathcock, Clark and Wise. For Trentham, Justin Hoffman was their multiple with 3 goals on the weekend. The best for Talbot, Wise, Burns, Heathcock, Nathan Smith and Matthew Smith. Good to see him in the best players after backing up from his Footy Show appearance last week, and the Matthew Smith fan club just sounding off in the background. Best for Trentham, Wheel and Cow, Drew and their coach Clayton Scoble. Competitive performance by Trentham on the weekend. And look, that's one thing that Matty said. They didn't want to go in and underestimate Trentham this weekend.
No, that's right, Sean, and I'm sure Trentham will be very pleased. They are slowly getting there week by week. Talbot keep doing what they have to at this time of the year, and they keep notching up wins, and they're going to put themselves in pretty good position coming in the second half of the year.
Yeah, they will indeed. Couple of 1-point results over the weekend as well. Could not get any closer than Lexington taking on Harcourt. 12-7-79 Lexington, 12-6-78 Harcourt. 3 goals each to Morris and Brown for Lexington, 2 to Daniel Chester and 2 to Colin Wakefield. Interesting, 1 goal to Robert Mosby. That was the one. After the siren, slots the goal through. It's the one that every kid dreams about. Harcourt, though, Matthew Geary up forward with 7 goals and Dylan Gibson 2. Best for Lexington, Templeton, Jennings and Aspland. For Harcourt, Mac, Mitchell, Chaplin and Matthew Geary, who's been in some sort of form this year, Scotty. Another 7 goals on the weekend. Almost single-handedly brought Harcourt over the line from what I've heard, and he'll be a really key component of this Interleague side this weekend.
Yeah, he certainly will, mate. Speaking to Paul Phillips, Lexington coach, from the weekend's game, he said he was fantastic and unstoppable. His work on ground as well as for a little bloke playing above his height, he's doing good things for Harcourt. They'd be very disappointed with the loss, having a good first half and getting out to that 4-goal lead at half time. But as I said, with a couple of the other sides, their improvements coming week by week. And take it up against a final side over the last few years, a very good effort.
Yeah, it is indeed, mate. You're dropping names like a champion today. If you keep doing your research like this, Sammy's going to struggle.
I told you, mate. I spoke to the experts, and I'm back for the year.
You're becoming an expert. You're doing a fantastic job at the moment. Unlike Avoca on the weekend, 50 points up at half-time against Maldon. They were still 43 points in the clear at three-quarter time. End of the game, though, they lost. Maldon 7 goals to 1 behind in the last quarter, getting them over the line 13-12-90 to Avoca 13-11-89. Hayden Kelly and David Carroll 3 goals each for the Dons. Mark Webb 2 for Avoca. Nathan Coughlin 5 goals up forward. Lockie Edwards and Sam Gould kicked a couple as well. Best for Maldon, Pascoe, Birchall and Hayden Kelly, and for Avoca, Dukes, Edwards and Alec Wiltshire. This must have been heartbreaking for Avoca. You go in at half-time and you think you've done everything you can to win the game. Kicked only 1 goal after half-time in that third quarter and could basically just stand on helpless as Maldon ran over the top of them.
Yeah, they'd be bitterly disappointed, Sean. I mean, wins haven't been easy to come by for Avoca this year, and to be 50 points up, you really don't lose those games. And somehow, Maldon, credit to Maldon, have kicked 7 goals in the quarter is fantastic. We're not going to take anything away from them, but for Avoca to lose that one, very disappointing, and you never know what they could do for the rest of their season.
And from all reports, once Maldon got going in that final quarter, and got a sniff of it, they just kept rolling, and Avoca were really powerless to stop it once Maldon got their tails up.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's move on to the last game of the weekend, though. Newstead taking on Denali. Newstead 29-16, 190, defeating Denali 4-26. Daniel Christmas, 10 goals last weekend. We mentioned Nathan Wright went to the top of the goal-kicking table. It was only for as much as Saturday night. Come this game on Sunday, Christmas back up there, 9 goals clear now with 35 goals from his games this year. Also good to see Tommy Rees with 7 goals on the board. Another boy who very much benefited from an appearance on the Footy show last week as I put my teeth back in. 4 goals to Ethan Ford, 3 to David Wall and 2 to Nathan Webster as well. All singles for Denali, Laird, Hawks, Covesi and Raven. For Newstead, their better players, Ethan Ford, who has been in some sort of form this year, along with Checkley, Sammy Kerr and David Wall. And for Denali, Manley, Covesi, Shods and Crawford, their best players. Definitely saw this one coming, Scotty, and a 9-goal to zip first quarter definitely set the Newstead on their way.
Yeah, it was coming, unfortunately, for Denali. I don't think they could have done too much to do it, especially when you're kicking 9 goals the first quarter and you're very consistent for the rest of the game. Kick 30 for the game. It's a very good effort. I don't think you're going to stop Newstead if their midfielders keep kicking goals, with Reece 7, Ford kicking 4. So very good effort.
Yeah, very impressive performance by Newstead on the weekend, mate. Let's very quickly talk Interleague. We've got some really big interviews coming up with the Interleague coaches. Firstly, Ingrid Hopkins and Amanda Guthrie on the netball side of things, and then Paul Phillips and, of course, the senior coach Wayne Driscoll on the footy side of things, mate. But take us through a quick rundown of the day. It's up at Tatura, of course, a double-header game, so the main game's going to start a little bit later than usual.
Yeah, that's right. Our game's going to be the match of the day, and probably
as it should be.
As it should be, of course. We're at the league's up and about, and the seniors will be kicking off at 3:30, so it'll be a bit of a twilight game and finish under lights. I think it's pretty exciting for all the supporters if you get up there and watch. That'll be starting at 3:30. Our under-18s are playing at 11:20 in the morning. They'll be playing a second Ballarat side which should be a good game. Ballarat, pretty strong league as anyone would know, and to bring up their second side, I think we're a real chance there, but still will be a very good game. We're moving to the netball, which should also be a couple of crackers there, especially with the juniors, especially with the girls coming out of the state league and playing very well together. The A grade side will be starting at 1:45. The 17 and under girls starting at 12:15, and our 15 and under girls at 11 o'clock in the morning. So it'll be great to see supporters get up there. It will be a bit of a hike up to the game, but I'm sure all the players and coaches will appreciate that support. Anyone wanting to go to the game, it's on Hasty Street at Tura at the showgrounds there, and we hope to see you there.
Yeah, it should be a big day, and that 3:30 start obviously helps people that do want to come up. They don't have to leave at the crack of dawn to get up there and watch the senior game. You can leave Maryborough and Castlemaine at roughly about 12 o'clock and still get there with a bit of time.
That's right, mate. Unfortunately, all our junior players and
they'll be
footballs and netballs at crack of dawn on the buses. Hopefully they might get a little hour or so sleep on the bus and then get straight into it. Yeah, it's going to be a big day this weekend at Tatura. You'll be able to follow it if you can't make it up to Tatura though. Have a look at the MCDFNL website on Saturday, because we are going to be live scoring this game. Scotty's going to be in charge of that one, and also keep an eye on the website today and tomorrow as well about how you can follow the scores live on your iPhone. Don't necessarily need the computer or the website. You can follow it on your iPhone and you'll be up to date with absolutely everything. But Scotty, it's time to drag some of the experts in, mate. It's time to talk interleague, and we're going to bring in, firstly, from the netball ranks, Ingrid Hopkins and Amanda Guthrie. Good to see you, mate. I think they have plenty to chat about the girls, and be excited to see what the side's going to be this week.
Welcome back to the MCDFNL Footy Show for another week. Time to talk netball. Of course, the Interleague coming up this weekend. We've got two of the Interleague coaches with us. Firstly, to my left, our senior Interleague coach, and of course representing the Natty Bialaba Football Netball Club, Ingrid Hopkins. Ingrid, welcome to the Footy Show.
Thanks for having me.
And to my right, Ingrid's assistant for the Interleague team this weekend and the A-grade coach of the Newstead Football Netball Club, Amanda Guthrie. Amanda, welcome. Thank you both for joining us. It's not quite the rose between two thorns. It's very much the other way around this week. I can tell you I'm a little bit humbled to be sitting here at the moment. Let's have a look at last week's results, though, and we'll start with the game you're involved in, Ingrid. Natty Bialaba taking on Campbell's Creek. Natty 69, defeating Campbell's Creek 7. Ash Edwards 35 goals, Sherelle Martin 34 for Natty, Madison Nichols 4, Keely Fleeton 2 and Nicole Alderton 1 for Campbell's Creek. Better players for Natty, Kelsey Long, Ash Edwards and of course Ingrid Hopkins, has to be when we get her in on the show. And for Campbell's Creek, Brooke Skinner and Rosemary Amy were there, two better players. We know Creek's had some struggles this year. Was it very much a game where you still had to be kind of on the radar though and make sure that you executed?
Yeah, look, definitely. It's just one of those things, even when we do come up against some of the sides that are a little bit weaker in the competition, we certainly had to push right through to the end to make sure that we were getting the results we were after. So, and look, they certainly caused us a lot of turnovers and a lot of headaches at times. So it wasn't an easy game by any means, but thankfully we did come away with the win.
Kelsey Long, that was named as Natty Bialaba's best player on the weekend, come up from 15 underside, so great to see the youngsters really making a mark in A-grade.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, at Natty, we've sort of made a point this year of looking at bringing some of the younger girls through. So there was Kelsey Long playing. We also had Caitlin Lanfranchi, who also played on the day. So
and she's played a few games this year, hasn't she?
Yeah, she has. And also her sister Janae, she was actually sitting on our bench, but she's played quite a lot of games with Natty this year, and they're all doing a really fantastic job, and it's certainly a great experience for them to sort of come up and play with some of the senior players in the likes of sort of Kelsey Long, who played in the mid-court, with having somebody like Ash Edwards to feed to, so it's certainly a great experience for them.
And how's Ash going as coaching? We had Talana Buckley in here raving about Ash's coaching the other week, so we'll get another perspective. How's she going?
Oh, look, Ash is doing a fantastic job. She's a lot more, maybe quite softer spoken than myself, but you know, her ideas are fantastic, and she's been a fantastic netballer in the league for quite some time, so it was definitely her time to step up and have a go at things, and she's doing a really great job. Everyone out there is enjoying the trainings, and she's bringing some great ideas to the board, so it's good. Oh,
fantastic. We'll keep looking through the matches from last weekend. Carisbrook 54 defeating Maryborough Rovers 32. Pearce and Dewhurst up front, 15 and 11 goals for the Rovers. For Carisbrook, Rebecca Lovett 35 goals, Melissa Cornwell 19. Best for the Rovers, Steed, Owen and Fitzpatrick, and for Carisbrook, Rumpf, Cornwell and Richards. Navarre 62 continued on their undefeated run, defeating Royal Park 31. Jess Parry 36 goals, Taylor Mason 26, two players that will be in action this weekend. Jess in the open side, in the interleague side, and Taylor Mason in the 17 and under side. Laura Johnson, 18 goals for Royal Park. Sarah Johnson, 9. Best for Navarre, Parry, Rachel Murphy and Sophie Matthews. And for Royal Park, Juliana Sutton and Laura Johnston. Trentham got their first win on the weekend. Well done to the Saints, defeating Talbot 40-36. For Trentham, Rebecca Brown, 27 goals, and Holly Wielden, 13. They've been keeping on. They've been fantastic all season, and great to see the Saints get their first win on the board. Harcourt taking on Lexington, and Lexington rebounded after their loss against Navarre last weekend. They won 53-38. Rachel Phelan, 32, and Lisa Donhart, 21 goals up front for Lexington. Julie Anderson continues her fantastic form. She'll be another member of our 17 and under interleague side this weekend for Lexington in defence, with Julia Coates and Lisa Donhart, and Douglas and Denise Bain, the best players for Harcourt. Maldon had a good win against Avoca, 41-29 on Sunday. Beck McKnight, 22 goals. One of the players that you've got in the interleague squad this week, Ingrid.
Mm-hmm.
And Avalon Crom with 19 goals for Maldon leading the way. Final match of the round, probably not one that you want us to bring up all that much, Amanda, because it was Denali 52 defeating Newstead 33. And Denali just starting to find their mojo, it seems, a little bit on the court this year.
Yeah, they've obviously got it together a little bit quicker than what we have. That would have been probably our first really big competition. We had a loss to Natty earlier in the season.
2-goal loss from
Yeah,
them,
which was a really close game, nice and competitive. But yeah, this was one that we've had the opportunity to try a few different positions as the game went on to see what things could or may not work. So I've taken all the positives away from it, and we'll look forward to meeting them again, hopefully in finals.
I was going to mention that this is kind of the really first blip in the road for you this year. You've been going along really nicely.
Yeah, we've had some sides that we've matched up really well against. So this was the first one that I suppose maybe didn't match up as well as previous games, but that's okay. And with players out, unfortunately, that also moves the girls around a little bit. So they had the opportunity to step up in new positions.
Let's have a look at this weekend, of course, in the interleague game, playing against the Pecola District Football Netball League. And it's an interesting day. It's going to be a fairly long day. There's 5 games of netball on the day. The girls come on as the main game, of course, which is fantastic. How's the side been progressing in training so far, Ingrid? Is it one that obviously some of the girls have been involved in the Regional State League over the summer and have had that chance to gel together, but it's kind of half and half, new girls, Regional State League girls. How's everyone gelling together?
Quite well. The girls all seem to get along very well at training, and we did have quite a depth of talent at the tryouts when we ran them, so it was quite difficult to pick the sides. However, a lot of the girls are actually from the same clubs, so in particular, for example, like Jess Parry will probably be playing in goals with somebody like Jess Williamson at wing attack, so she'll be feeding her own goal, which she's used to, and myself, I've playing in defence, but we've also got Naomi Medlin from Natty Bialaba, who I've played defence with. So, looking at those matchups certainly will help us when we step out on court. So.
And was that one of the things you really looked at, getting that familiarity along the court, knowing that you haven't had much time to really, as we mentioned, gel together coming from the different setups?
Look, it's probably not something that we set out to do. We certainly didn't go out with the intention of picking people from certain teams for that reason. It's just sort of happened that way, in that they tend to play better. Well, I guess they've played better together when they've been on court because they have had that experience together. So it's just sort of, it turned out that way, but it certainly wasn't something we intended on. So,
Your first year coaching the interleague side this year, what attracted you into firstly applying for the job in the first place?
I'm actually not quite sure. I did really enjoy my coaching experiences at Natty. That's sort of where I started my senior coaching when I was there, and I really did enjoy it there, but it was just time for Natty to have a break from me, and I guess me to sort of concentrate on my playing rather than coaching. And so I did really miss out on coaching this year because I do really enjoy it. So it was sort of an opportunity for me to continue with coaching without sort of having to commit to something throughout the year. So, yeah.
Now, Amanda, you were one of the girls that played in the Regional State League earlier this year. How did you find that's helped, not just obviously your game going back and playing for Newstead, but preparations going in and stepping up to the higher level this weekend?
Definitely think it's helped, and just the combinations that you've got on the court, and especially in the attack line, that's one setup that we did have in that competition, and that will go a long way to helping us this weekend because you've only got that one game. So
now you've been assisting Ingrid in the coaching for the interleague squad. You assisted obviously in the coaching for the RSL squad. You're coaching Newstead at the moment. How are you finding having that involvement?
Oh, I love it. I think it's fantastic. I love being amongst all those decisions and just being that backup person, another person to chat to and try and work out, because I know that I appreciate it on weekends when I'm that main person.
Yep.
So to have those other people around you that you can discuss decisions and whether it's changing positions or other things you might need to try, I appreciate that role and I'm more than happy to step into that position.
Fantastic. Now, Ingrid, you mentioned off camera before that you don't really know a lot about the Picola League that you're playing against this Sunday. You probably know more, incidentally, about the leagues that are playing in the game before you, the Riddle District and the Cobram District League.
Mm-hmm.
Is it very much a week then where you're not too much preparing for opposition, you're looking after your own structures but have got maybe a plan B in the background just in case things go wrong?
Certainly in terms of what we're doing, how we'll prepare, you know, we can only look at our strengths. We can't look at matching up with anyone else. So we will just concentrate on maybe a few systems that we certainly want run on the day, and certainly look at some pairing up of in defence and how that might work, and some structures. So that's probably what we'll look at in terms of our end of things. Sorry, what were you asking?
No, that's okay. The bus trip up to Tatura, it's going to be something that could be reasonably interesting, a good bonding time before the game, obviously a chance to kind of get some game plan structure and everything like that, and then I suppose party time after the game when you win.
Yeah, look, the girls certainly seem to get along quite well at training, so I imagine the bus trip could be a little bit interesting, provided we're all on there. So, look, it will be a good chance for the girls to spend some time together, but, you know, they're a lovely group of girls, so, yeah, look, I don't think we'll have a problem there.
So that's basically your coach telling you keep your shenanigans to the minimum. Good stuff. Get back to Newstead in one piece on Saturday night.
That would be nice.
Well, Ingrid, Amanda, thanks for joining us on the Footy Show this week. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here and obviously help talk netball, which, as you've probably seen in the show, I don't know all that much about, but I'm starting to get there. So it's good to have that little bit of expert. Good luck on the weekend.
Thank you.
Really looking forward to hearing you come back with the victory.
That'd be nice.
We're going to change tack now. We're going to have a chat with the Interleague football coach from the MCDFNL, Wayne Driscoll, and joining him, one of his assistants, the Lexington coach, Paul Phillips. Time for our Interleague football segment here on the MCDFNL Footy Show. Joining us firstly this week, on my right, the senior Interleague coach, Wayne Driscoll. Wayne, welcome to the Footy Show.
Sean, how you going?
Very, very well. And to my left, he's probably the veteran, if you will, of the Footy Show this year. The first person to rack up multiple appearances, Paul Phillips. Welcome, mate.
Sean, how you going?
Try and actually get you in screen a bit more this time and not just kind of have half of you on. So, obviously, game coming up this weekend. Pretty handy squad that you've assembled as well.
Yeah, we're pretty comfortable with it, Sean. It's pretty much sort of got a balance about it across all lines. So at this stage, we're pretty comfortable with it. Yeah.
How have you found? You've got a lot of playing coaches in your squad that you've named as assistant coaches. Blokes like Paul, Daniel Parkin, Luke Tracy, Ben Kick, Clayton Scoble, blokes like that. How have you found that with obviously at training and taking part of the drills? And is that something that's really going to be a strength come match day?
Oh, a lot of experience, and sort of you want to get those fellas involved in this sort of level of footy as well. So they've been great. They've put their own spin on it from time to time, which has been good too. So been pretty happy with them.
Beautiful work. How have you found training? Has there been like any couple of players that have stood out amongst the pack or anything else during the training session so far?
Oh, look, they've all had input. There's some coming out of their shells now because I mean it's all a lot of nervous fellas for a start when they get picked and that sort of stuff. But you know, a couple of boys like Matty Bilton, he's played a bit of league footy stuff. He's sort of come out a little bit, had a bit to say. So yeah, been pretty good.
Obviously, playing up into Tatura, it's going to be probably a couple of hour bus trip. Is that something that you're really looking forward to as a good bonding experience pre-game?
Oh, look, I think so. I think she's 3.5 hours on the bus, so we've got a few things we've got to go through and that sort of stuff.
The boys will be sick of your voice by the time they get to Tatura.
Whether she's bonding on the way up or bonding on the way back, I'm not sure. But,
might be a different kind of bonding.
Yeah.
Yes. Bertie, have you found training so far, mate? Obviously, you've coming from being in charge of your own side, coming obviously as an assistant coach in the Interleague, but very much falling back into line under a head coach. How have you found that?
Yeah, good. Yeah. Well, the four of us as our assistants, obviously Wayne gets our input, and then obviously we take it back out to the guys on the track. So Wayne's sort of given us guys most of the warm-ups and the training side of things, and he just sits back and has a look, and I guess it makes life a bit easier for Wayne to have a look at each individual while we're out there, instead of Wayne trying to control that as well as the players.
You're happy just to sit in the normal sweeping role across half-back on the weekend, mate?
Yes.
No little Suarez into the midfield or anything like that?
Oh, I don't think so.
Yeah? What do you reckon, mate?
Leave it up to the midfielders.
Oh, I think he played a good role for us here last year, and I think that's what his key is, his delivery and that sort of stuff, his ability to read the ball. So,
Yep.
yeah, we'll be using him that way.
Forward line going forward this weekend. Obviously in the squad there was a very strong forward line named, and some tall guys, the Christmases, the Browns, the Joel Smiths. Unfortunately, guys like that aren't going to be available. How's this forward line going to structure up now?
Oh, very quick. You know, we've got likes of Nathan Wright and Matty Geary in that line with Adrian Conn to do a bit of bullocking work across half forward.
Yep.
Benny Scott, most likely will be right. He'll provide a bit of an X factor through that half forward line.
Which is what he does with Navarre so well.
Yeah, so we don't think we've got a big, tall, huge marking options, but we're going to move the ball in very quickly into the forward line. So.
Probably not a bad thing, given that the reports on the Chachira ground is that it's a ground where you're going to need some leg speed and some real run and carry.
Yeah, I think so. I think that was what we've highlighted that as well. So on our movement in. Yeah.
So what's the one move you've got up your sleeve, mate, that if you need to make a move in the middle of the game, break it open, have you got one up there?
Well, look, I suppose there's fellas who are likes of Mark Ramsey can play all over the ground.
Yep.
Daniel Parkin can play all over the ground. So we've got options where we can move blokes back to forward through the midfield, that sort of stuff. So there's probably more than one I think we can use if we need to.
Yep. Now, Bertie, have you found the relationships with the blokes from the other clubs? I mean, 2 weeks ago I watched you play against Daniel Parkin, and I think you spent the second half running around trying to literally kill each other. How have you found that, obviously, getting in and being a part of blokes from other teams that you won't normally socialise with, that sometimes you play against them and it's war against them every other weekend?
Oh, I think it's great. Interleague brings blokes from other clubs together, I think. So, obviously, this last year's experience and this year's experience, when you go and play against those sides, obviously, it's open slather, I guess, inside the 4 quarters, but after the game, you know, they're always there and a bit of friendship there to have a chat to and, you know, have a beer or whatever after the game. So I really enjoy that.
Who's that one bloke that you've been impressed with on the track that you've looked and thought, geez, playing against him, I really didn't know that he was that good?
It's a hard question, mate.
Yeah.
I think everyone deserves their spot, so
No, that's good.
you can't single out one or another. I think it's up to the 24 blokes on Saturday to do the job for us.
Played that with a straight bat beautifully, mate. One where I put you under the pump pretty tough and you didn't throw anyone under the bus, you just batted it back nicely. Well, Wayne, Paul, thanks a lot for your time today, guys. Very much looking forward to seeing the results come Saturday night. 3:30 start, of course, up at Tachira, so she's going to be a twilight kind of game. Best of luck. Very much looking forward to hearing reports of victory come Saturday night.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
Ta.